So I started noticing this shift. And so I made the decision to start really marketing to the grandmother. Not only just for the birthday sessions, but for sessions that grandmothers would want to book. So sessions with their grandkids, sessions for their family. And now we're even working on a legacy portrait of grandma and grandpa, right? Like whoever it is that is around. So they still have money. You know, they are the ones with the money. They're not in the earning phase of their life anymore. They're in the retirement phase of their life. So a lot of the things that are happening economically in the world right now don't affect them.
Hey, Difference Maker. Welcome to the Difference Maker Revolution podcast. On today's episode, we have Stefano Antonio Saporito and we have Jeanine McLeod. And the topic of this podcast team is thriving in uncertain and challenging times. So we all know the world is a little bit crazy right now. There's lots going on. There's, talks of recessions and tariffs and all this trade war crap that's happening. And it's making people tighten their wallets a little bit and people are afraid and uncertain. But that doesn't mean that we can't still be successful and do well with all of this going on, because we're in control of our own business and our own destiny, right? So talk to us. What should we be doing in these times with our business? Like, what do we need to be focusing on to make sure that we do thrive in these uncertain times?
Well, I think we have to be more determined than ever to tick all the boxes, because when there's abundance, there's a lot of wastage. And when, those times when we get lots of leads, we get lots of opportunities, we tend to be quite wasteful with that. But when we're hitting uncertain times, that's when we have to make sure that we are really following the systems and making sure that we're doing all the things we should be doing. But not only that, checking in with our beliefs. I think a lot of the times the results that we get are tied into our self-talk and our mindset. Only yesterday I was talking to somebody who told me that he was struggling to get bookings and at the same time knew that as he was on the phone with people, believing that they weren't going to book. And so that mindset that people weren't booking weren't going to book was resulting in exactly that. And he'd been there before. He'd been there probably 6 months before, where his mindset was that people weren't going to book. And really just flipping that mindset and giving people the opportunity to come in will make a massive difference. And treating every opportunity as it's your only opportunity, because when there's scarcity, then we tend to, value every opportunity that we have. And I think it's about valuing every opportunity we have and approaching it with the right mindset.
So some key foundational fundamentals there. We have to have the right mindset. So Jeanine, at the time of recording, it's April 25th, right? I know this has been released in June or around June, but you told us the other day that April, you've hit your targets already for April, right? So you're doing well, right? So tell us, what has been the secret to your success?
You're so funny, Jonathan. I was wondering where you were going with this. So it's interesting. I never take the foot off the pedal, ever. And so we're always marketing. We're always running our ads. We're always looking for new alliances. We're always looking to strengthen our alliances. And we're always talking with our clients and engaging with them, right? We have a heavy touch point system in our studio, and we're always reaching out to our existing clients. So essentially, Jonathan, I'm always hustling. We're always hustling for business around here. But I will. What do you say?
Is it really hustling, or is it building relationships?
It is building relationships.
Honoring
But
you hear a
it
lot of
is,
photographers talk about, oh my God, my clients love me. I love my clients. And when you ask them when the last time you were in contact with that client, they don't ever contact them again.
and I think that's
So-
probably why I use the word hustle though, Steve, because I hear so many photographers who say that they do their business just based on referral and only get referrals from clients, but they do nothing to actually get those referrals, right?
I hope that the referrals
They
come, not
hope that
proactive.
yes. They just hope that a client will refer and somebody will call them and they wait for the phone to ring. We never wait for the phone to ring. We're always picking up the phone and making the phone calls. Actually, when the phone rings, it's like, oh my God, why is the phone ringing? It must be a telemarketer. We're always the ones making the phone calls because we're proactively seeking business. And I think that's
providing service.
Yeah. And so, Jonathan, I really think that's part of it. We have our systems in place. So when we're busy, we're still marketing and we're still working on our relationships. And when we're slow, it's the same thing, right? Like we're never, like so many photographers end up when they're really busy, they're not doing any nurturing or any marketing. And then they get slow and then they do. And then they get busy and then they don't. And so you end up with this roller coaster. Whereas if you can get your systems in place, then you can keep the engine running all year, which I think
I'm going to be
cool.
a little bit blunt and a little bit harsh here, but sometimes you hear people say, "Oh, I'm marketing more than I'm photographing," and the reality is, like, if you want to be a successful photography business where you're actually making money as a photographer, you have two options. You can either focus on the business and marketing and sales and delivering a client experience because it's the most important part of the business, or you can get a job photographing for someone else. That's the reality.
It is the reality.
If you want to make money as a photographer and do nothing other than take photos, you got to get a job working for someone else because it's not going to happen running your own business.
It's
Harsh
blunt,
truth,
but it's true. I mean, we've talked to so many people, Jonathan, where they get so upset that they have to market. Like, I just want to be a photographer. But
you got to get a job then. Sorry.
Well, when you count up the time that you, as a business owner, you spend in the business, only 10% of that time is actually photographing.
Photographing.
Like I did the calculations, and it was 10%. 10% of the time was photographing, and the rest of it was everything else that had to be done to market, get the clients in, educate the clients, bring them in, and then afterwards the nurturing, getting the orders ready, making sure that all the rest of the stuff is happening. So it's only 10% of the time.
And it's the 10% of the time you actually could hire someone else to do it.
You could.
Then you could have more time to do your marketing and only the things that you can do, which is run your business.
And it might be difficult to hear this, but we'd rather be truthful about what it actually takes rather than just blatantly lie to you and say, yeah, you can just photograph 100% of the time and make money. Yeah, you can if you work for someone else.
Because then you're paid by the hour.
Yeah.
Which is, nothing wrong with that.
So what we're saying, nothing wrong with it. No, what we're saying is you got to hustle.
I had 6 photographers working for me.
Yeah.
And so there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And they were paid well.
And they're probably very happy.
Yeah, they were. But I think the last financial, crisis and disturbance, I was sort of Googling what people are looking for. And I bought into the mindset that when there is all this stuff happening in the world, people are looking for ways to feel better and are looking for ways to pamper themselves. Some people looking for ways to show that they're not affected by all of this sort of stuff. And so it gave me the belief and hope that we could thrive even though there was a global financial crisis. And, that hasn't happened right now. But we had our best year best months when I took on that belief. And it just made me, I think, value every opportunity and realize that there are people out there. We don't need a lot of clients compared to how many people are out there. There'll always still be people that have money. And we can focus on the fact that there's people that are tightening their wallets. They don't want to spend money, but there are people out there that are still spending money. And we don't need many people to earn a good living in reality. And if they're looking for ways to pamper themselves, what's a better way? And if we start marketing towards that, telling people that, this is all about getting back to what's important. And when there is a crisis, that's what people do. They get back to what's important, their family and their relationships. And that's what as photographers we do. We help people reconnect.
So Jeanine, taking that into account, some tangible strategic changes you've made, knowing this, talk to us. What are some of the kind of things where you sat down and you said, okay, I need to shift my strategy because, as Steve said, there are people with money out there and there always will be. Who are those people right now?
For me? So I noticed halfway through last year and really as the year was progressing and even into the beginning of this year, even in our bread and butter, which is our baby's first birthdays, I saw a shift in who was booking the sessions and who was paying for the sessions. And it wasn't the baby's mother. It was the baby's grandmother. And so I you have one or two and you're like, oh, that's really nice. What a nice grandma. Then you start having 4 or 5 and then 10, 15, you're like, okay, wait a second. Something has shifted. And so I started looking more and more at who was actually paying for portraits at the studio and more as our moms, this is where the generational shift has started happening, right? So for so long, it was Gen X was our moms that were having the babies, but now they're past baby having ages and now their kids are older and the people having babies are younger and they're the ones not necessarily in professions where they have the money yet, but the grandparents do. And the grandparents are very excited about these babies and these grandchildren being born. And so they want to bring them in because remember, what did those grandparents do with children? They took their children for portraits, right? And I've had so many parents who have said, and I know it makes a lot of photographers cringe, but to me, it signifies that these grandparents value it. They're like, we took our children to Olin Mills and we did all these different things. And that's fantastic. It doesn't make me cringe. It makes me know that these grandparents found the photographer that was available back in the 80s. And that's where they took their kids, the 70s and 80s. And so, to them, it's tradition. To them, it's important. To them, it's still creating and these memories and these milestones for their they did it for their kids and they want to do it for their grandkids. So I started noticing this shift. And so I made the decision to start really marketing to the grandmother, not only just for the birthday sessions, but for sessions that grandmothers would want to book. So sessions with their grandkids, sessions for their family. And now we're even working on a legacy portrait of grandma and grandpa, right? Like whoever it is that is around. So they still have money. They are the ones with the money. They're not in the earning phase of their life anymore. They're in the retirement phase of their life. So a lot of the things that are happening economically in the world right now don't affect them.
And I think that younger generation that is coming in with their babies are the Insta generation.
Yes.
And so they're not necessarily all that interested in having printed portraits necessarily. Right. Whereas the grandparents value that and want their kids to have that.
Yep. And it's interesting because I feel like we're training a new generation. And that and I've seen it, I've seen the transformation happen in the studio where grandma booked the session. One of my best clients now, her daughter finally asks for prints, right? It's been 4 years. And, initially it was grandma buying everything and the daughter's like, I'll just take this social media matching portrait, right? I don't need the print, mom. You keep that for yourself or whatever, right? And then slowly it was, okay, well, I'll take one. all right, mom, you can buy me one. And now like she comes in, all right, mom, what are you buying me? And because she's like, it's like she went from not wanting, but then when she had it and she realized she loved them. So it's interesting now, like we're taking this generation and we're training the new one to also value the physical print as opposed to just the Instagram version.
But that's taken nurturing.
It does take nurturing. It does.
And I think that's where a lot of businesses fail, in that they're not nurturing their current client. A lot of people call them past clients, but we tend to call them our current clients, because if you are nurturing them, they will come back. And if you are making an effort to proactively call them and engage them and have nurturing emails and all of that stuff going, they're your clients forever, and they come back again and again. And that gives you the opportunity to train them and to nurture them into the next generation that's going to be buying photos, which is great.
Do you know what I love about you discovering that, Jeanine, is that in order for you to do that, you have to not only track, but also know your clients.
And listen.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have their belief about who their client is. And even though you see this with wedding photographers a lot, my bride is my client. And when, I visit their studios and there's a lot of mums that come in with the brides to book, they don't see the mum as a client or as somebody that has any vested interest in it. And when you do, and you listen and you react, then those parents of the bride are buying their own album. They're buying, they're having family sessions before the wedding, before their family changes forever. They're buying wall portraits for their children as well as for their home. And so the whole listening part of it and really paying attention and not being locked into a belief of who my client is really important, because sometimes people are pretty much screaming at you and we don't hear them because we're too focused on what we believe and what we think to pay attention.
My client doesn't have a white Audi and a gravel driveway?
That's not your ideal client always. But I think that leads to, okay, you're a portrait photographer, but I was having this discussion with another one of our members where she was saying it's just so hard because we do families and they have to arrange all the kids and, they're constantly rescheduling and it's hard to get them during the week. And it's like, well, they're a family. So what part of their life could you be photographing during the week? What part of their life doesn't require as many people to come together and agree on a time because their schedules don't allow it? And what became really obvious was that she could be offering branding sessions during the week because people will use their work time, they will use company money. If they're an entrepreneur, they much prefer to spend their business money than what they do their personal money. And that will fill in the gaps. But she already had the clients, but didn't see that that was an opportunity that she could be offering these people. Or within a family, there's also a couple. And sometimes when they've got teenage kids or kids in their 20s, organizing schedules for everybody is impossible. But in a lot of cases, what most of these families and couples need within the family is their own forever session, their own couples experience. And so when she started offering that as well, suddenly all those gaps were filling. But for over 12 years, her belief was that I'm a family photographer and unless I have everybody there, I'm not photographing.
Yeah, it's interesting, Steve, because I brought that up with you too, right? When we started marketing to the grandparents for the grandparent and me portraits, that is a challenge, right? That sometimes the grandkids don't live here, or grandkids are in school and they're not going to take them out of school for a portrait. And so what could we do in the meantime? And that is where we came up with, well, having a secondary offer on the phone, and that's offering, well, while we're waiting to get all your grandkids together, let's bring you in, or you and grandpa in, to celebrate your love that you've had. You're the couple that started this whole thing, and your legacy is important too. And so that's why I think,
how do they
Jonathan,
want to be remembered?
They want to be
pretty much
remembered.
what they want. How do they want to be remembered?
And I think that this is the moral, Jonathan, is that you always have to be like, I feel like so many people we talk to, when things get tough in the economy, they shut down and they listen and they believe the pundits that everything is going to fall off the face of the earth, right? And they listen to it daily and they fall into that. Well, I just need to hoard all my money. I need to stop marketing. I need to stop doing all these things that I've been doing and bunker down. And really the opposite is true, and you got to run your business. What are you laughing at?
In effect, it's hilarious because it's the opportunity, because while every other photographer is bunking down and not marketing anymore and not bringing clients in, and that's what happened when the world turned upside down last time. I think we were the only ones that were still marketing, and we were so busy because suddenly
you're the only game in town. Yeah. And
like
so
we had a monopoly.
I think there's a couple morals. I think one, like through this time, you have to market. You have to continue to market, but you have to continue to listen, because things do shift. And I feel I don't understand why photographers are so entrenched in, this is what I do, and I'm never going to change. This is what I do, and this is what I'm, and they don't listen to their clients and see that things may shift, and maybe you need to offer something different to your same clients or to a different subset of your clients. I don't see why people take offense to that. It's almost like I feel like instead of like where I view that as winning, right? I'm like, look at this. I found this amazing opportunity to service my clients and build new relationships. Others view it as giving, as failing. And I don't know. I don't understand that mentality. Like I don't. Steve, maybe you can explain it, because you're the guy who understands how people think, but it baffles me. I don't do that. I don't photograph that. I only, and
I'm buying photography. That's the problem. They think they're buying their work. It's all about them. They're not client focused.
Yeah. There you go, Jonathan. You explained it.
Well, it's I think that while there's abundance and while they're busy in that field, then they're happy in that field and they've convinced themselves that that's what it's like. But then when the problem is that getting new clients continuously is the most expensive, most laborious, educating your clients is the most expensive way to grow a business. Whereas when you can find ways for your clients to come back. So let's say you're a newborn photographer. If you're constantly looking for new clients all the time, obviously there'll be people that have, their second child, their third child, so they'll come back. But then not offering anything when that child turns 2, 1, 5, 10, and getting those clients back, they're already your client. They're already in the system. They've already been educated on what photography is about. They've already been educated on what, the value of photography is. So, having a way to bring those people back, it makes sense. Or building some sort of relationship with another photographer where you're referring people and they're referring people to you. Maybe that's a way of doing it too, if that's not what you want to do, but makes sense to fill the gaps.
It does.
Makes sense to fill the gaps with all the other opportunities, because people don't seek photography just for one reason.
I think the key thing is controlling the controllables, because so many people spend time focusing on stuff that it's out of their control. They can do nothing about, and they posting about it on social media and posting about this politician and that politician and this economist and that economist and all this crap, and they can't control it. Like there's nothing they can do about it. So stop focusing on things you can't control and start focusing on things you can control. You can control your marketing, you can control your sales, you can control delivering your clients an amazing experience. Do the things you can actually control and have influence on. Stop worrying about posting on social media about Mr. X and Mrs. Y and how terrible they are as leaders and all this crap.
Well, I think I always think about it this way, and when I'm coaching people, I find that a lot of people are just focused on the wall. What's the barrier? Right? And so they're so focused on the wall that they can't see beyond the wall. Right? But if you look beyond the wall and you start to see what opportunity there is past that wall, then you'll find a way over the wall, or you'll find a way around the wall, or you find a crack in the wall, where a weakness in the wall. But when you focus only on the problem or what you think is stopping you, it will stop you in your tracks. But you've got to look beyond that to have the desire to get over the wall or get around the wall or find a way around the wall, because and think in business that's how you've got to operate, because there'll always be something in the way. There'll always be some obstacle. And if we focus on the obstacle, then we're going to hit it every time. It's almost like I kind of learned this when I started mountain biking. I was so focused on that rock that I might hit that I hit it every time. Right? You got to look for the path and head for the path, not what you're afraid that you're going to hit. Because every time I focused on the tree branch, the edge of the track, I hit, without a doubt, hit it every time. So you got to look for the path that you want to follow.
Similar story, Steve. Yesterday when I was playing golf, the happens all the time on the golf course as well, which you just said. So we were standing on the 10th tee box, getting ready to drive. And I happened to mention to my playing partners that the last day I had played, I had hooked my drive onto the 14th fairway, so the wrong fairway. And
this is why I don't play golf. That would
and what actually then happened was we started discussing that, we don't want to hook the ball onto the wrong fairway today, do we? And guess where the ball ended up, Steve?
On that wrong fairway.
Yes. So it's funny, like what you focus on. Sometimes when you start focusing, like your brain can't process a negative. So if you're focusing on what you don't want to happen, it thinks you want that to happen.
Yeah. I've actually heard, and Steve, you've probably, with your NLP experience, I had actually read this in a parenting book. Like, you shouldn't tell your kids don't run.
Yeah, what not to do.
Yeah, you don't tell them what not to do. You tell them walk slowly, right? Yeah. So we always say don't do this, and then it puts it in your mind, and then they run. And there was a whole list of it. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is so a flippant thought, because you're telling them to focus on the negative instead of telling them what to do.
You can't not think about what you're not supposed to think about without thinking about it.
Right? Yeah. There you go.
But don't think of a blue tree.
Whatever
you think of, don't think of a blue tree.
Don't think of the blue tree.
Please don't think of a blue tree. You can't not think about what you're not supposed to think about. And so if you're constantly thinking about what's stopping you and you know what all the problems are, then you're going to be totally affected by that. But you got to find the solution and what you do want, not what you want to avoid.
So on that note, the solution that you need is to join this incredible difference maker mentor team and your difference makers inside the inner circle. So inside the inner circle, we're going to give you all of the skills, the tools, the templates, the coaching, everything you need to make sure that you can thrive in uncertain and challenging times. So what we want you to do is click the link below, join the inner circle, and we will help you to thrive like our fellow members. So go ahead, click the link.
Click.
And that's it for this podcast. Bye for now.
Bye guys.
Everyone.